Interestingly, I was looking information about code prop. It's the old school method to take baseline in applied behavioral analysis. It's also used for special education teachers. So I found some information and I put it together. Some behavioral analysts take what is called code prop data. That means that they take data on the first time they ask the student to do something. They provide no prompts, no cues, no reinforcement. It is what it is. Remarkably, for a field that thrives on data collection, we have little information about data collection in special education itself. However, we do have a few research studies that looked at this. Lehrman, Dittlinger, Fentress, and Renagan in 2012 study provide a nice review as well as their study looking at this issue. Essentially, they say that the code prop method provides a rough estimate, but having three or more data points gives a more accurate picture. Background. Therapists use a variety of methods to teach skill to children with autism spectrum disorder. Many of these methods require extensive reward protocols. Code prop testing is a method by which therapists determine the level a child has mastered a skill without any incentives. At the Language and Learning Clinic of a Metropolitan Area Autism Center, the first 15 minutes of therapy are spent assessing the status of every skill that is in treatment.
We have a world-renowned neurology and neurosurgery program.
I'm sorry for interruption. Okay, at the Language and Learning Clinic of a Metropolitan Area Autism Center, the first 15 minutes of therapy are spent assessing the status of every skill that is in treatment using this method. The therapist uses a code prop sheet to ascertain if a skill is mastered. If a skill is mastered, then it is moved into maintenance mode, but if it is not, then it stays in treatment. Information from this sheet is manually collected and later entered into the computer. The data is then analyzed using a standard spreadsheet program. The current process has a number of limitations. First, it's time-consuming for therapists to transfer the data from paper to Excel spreadsheet. Second, errors can occur when transferring data from manual to digital format. Finally, the clinical supervisor cannot access the patient's results until all of the therapists have input data. Objectives. The goals of the study were to 1. First, develop an automated method to process the information collected from the code prop sheet, and second, automatically transfer the data into spreadsheet. Method used a human-computer interaction perspective to understand the user's needs. This included interviews with therapists and their supervisor. The stakeholders were also involved in the design cycle. Given their needs, we decided to use a digital pen to collect data entered into the code prop sheet using handwriting recognition technology. Prototype and evaluation cycle were carried out simultaneously. When the system was first deployed, we studied two different groups. One used the new system, the other used the standard manual routine. Results. The initial handwriting solution had some problems, and the system currently runs a modified version of HWR. This was designed based on a semantic context. Our system has a number of strengths. First, it maintains treatment practice. The only change is that the therapist must dock the pen at least once a day. The new system is quick and automatic. The spreadsheet data easily integrates with other software used in the center. It also provides additional information which may be relevant, such as the time stamp of the data input. Of course, through computer it's faster. Another interesting finding is that the system helped to regulate the behavior of therapists. Therapists are now aware that the system needs discrete symbols, and as a result, they use better penmanship when completing the code prop sheet. Conclusion. Overall, the system seems to have helped the therapists in the autism center to reduce their workload and mistake ratio during data entry. In addition, the visualization function helps teachers to understand the data they collect. Based on the current system, we will introduce some data mining function in the future. Props. The first 15-20 minutes of teaching session test the child's current objectives. Can only take one code prop per day for each objective. Use the nodes from the props to determine what objectives you need to intensively teach during your session. Cannot prop more than once a day because the objective was taught or worked on earlier the day. If an objective scores a yes on the prop for three, some families to 5 days in a row across at least 2 different therapies, it's considered a mastered objective and new objectives are added. So that was the code prop.